Whoops. I am going to share my screen. Participants can, and boom, boom. Optimize your video clip and in here. There we go. We're going to hide those little silly things. Hide that floating meeting control. There are all the annoying little boxes out of the way. Kevin, can you see the screen?
Yep, sure can.
And no annoying boxes, right?
No annoying boxes.
Yay. Okay, well, that's good. So we are rocking and rolling. Hey, everybody, thank you for joining us for, August. Free lunch and learn. I can't believe it's already August. It seems like we have just started the year, but apparently we're more than halfway through. My name is Mary Hamilton. I'll be the facilitator today. My sidekick, Kevin Barrett with True North Professional Development up in Seattle. We'll be monitoring chat and letting folks in. Welcome, Kevin.
Yep, absolutely. So if you have any questions, you can unmute or you can drop it into chat and I'll monitor and let Mary know.
Well, I do believe Kate said it well. My stress levels are through the roof. How many of you are feeling the stress levels are through the roof? I'm almost feeling like it's a pandemic again, but it's stress. And I think a lot of it has to do with us not feeling comfortable with things. We're feeling change in the air, and it causes us to feel uncertain. That's my theory anyway. But I put together this really great PowerPoint for you guys, and hopefully my screen will cooperate and we'll be able to go forward with it. But this is a bit of our full-length program, Managing Stress and Mastering Change, which is a program that we have on our website at soulcanyon.com, which is a self-guided program. You can put your team through it if you'd like. It's under self-paced learning. Without further ado, there's a reason why we need to learn to manage things a little bit better. And part of it is if we want to be happy, healthy, contributing adults and have a job, we kind of need to keep ourselves together. And it's not the easiest thing in the world. I'm reading a book called Surrounded by Idiots. I don't know if any of you read that book, but it's interesting because it's based on the personalities and it's very close to the work that Rob and I do at Soul Canyon. And I think that a lot of times what happens is our inability to handle stress or pressure in a positive way gets us labeled idiots, or we're surrounded by people that we're labeling idiots and they increases our stress and pressure, and we're expressing it in a way that is getting us sent to HR and or just ill. The inability to see things through when things get tough kind of reminds me of when you're climbing a mountain, and it's pretty easy in the very beginning, but as you get higher and higher up the mountains, especially in the Pacific Northwest, it gets stupidly steep and hard to get traction and hard to keep going. And you've burned through your water and you've burned through your food. And I think sometimes life is like that. You know, you get towards the end and it's like, I give up. Any of you watching the Olympics saw the 200? It was an amazing race. It was last night, about, I think, perseverance and grit. And it was just amazing. I thought, you know what, when things get tough, a lot of times we have to like take a step back and then reprogram ourselves or come at it a different way. And then you get success. Inability to handle impulses have been derailing careers for years, because people, I have a friend of mine that wrote a book, What Were You Thinking? It was all about the stupid things people do at work. And oftentimes we think we're going to be able to make something magical happen, and we try it and it doesn't play out well. Most of us don't do this.
That was an overreaction.
But I think all of us can agree that we've overreacted at some point in our lives. And that overreaction is one of the things that derails our careers. It's one of the things that causes us to have to rebuild our lives. It's one of the things that causes us to beat ourselves up and for other people to deem us as perhaps idiots. Me. Thanks, Kate. Yes, I know, right? It is without a doubt. Whoops, I'm not going to watch it again. No, I'm going to go. Yeah. What I do want to do is start you guys out on that handout. There is a stress assessment, and it's really not very heavy questions. It's check some areas, and you don't have to share if you don't want to. Put a check mark next to each area that is a challenge for you. Thinking clearly under stress. Oh my gosh, my brain is still not working right now. And so I apologize ahead of time, but go ahead and take this real quick little quiz, and then let's come back and talk about that.
And Mary, I've dropped it in again, just in case anybody needs to download it.
Thank you, Kevin.
I love that answer, Kate. Kate says it's easier to find the ones that aren't.
Yeah, just circle the ones that aren't. Yeah. So what is someone's biggest challenge? Anybody have one they want to share?
Overcommitting.
Overcommitting. When do you find yourself overcommitting, Tiff?
A lot. No, all the time. So it's I like to be overcommitted, but medically I can't and haven't been for the last, few years because I'm having medical issues. And so it's making it very difficult to, like, without that stress, I don't accomplish things well because I need the stress in order to actually do it. But then with physically I can't, and it's hard to make those two things meet.
A lot of people, you're not the only one. A lot of people use stress as a motivator, right? They hype themselves up. They get this energy boost, this adrenaline rush, this cocktail, if you will, of hormones, and it's supposed to jack you up to get this stuff done, give you energy, right? But in the long run, and I guess that's going to be my next question, what is the price we pay for all of that, right? Because it's not sustainable. We weren't hardwired to be like that.
We almost train ourselves to be that way.
Mm-hmm. And I know I've worked with people that wait and they procrastinate until the last minute, and then it's like this adrenaline rush to get it done, and they hammer everybody else on the team to get it done, and it causes damage to the relationships, right? It causes damage to our health. I know you're struggling with health issues right now, and it can be detrimental to our health. It's one of the biggest challenges that we have in our world is stress. And yet I think we need to look at stress a little bit differently. Stress was originally designed for fight or flight, right? There is, something that happens to us physically when we go into fight or flight. And that is that adrenaline is released, and it restricts our vessels so that we can either fight or run away. So it's hard, we're hardwired. It shuts off oxygenated blood to our prefrontal lobe. We're running on instinct, habit, and programming. And it only lasts a certain period of time. And then once that adrenaline is released and dissipates through your body, then cortisol is released. And that cortisol says to your body, hey, I just ran from a cheetah. I need to eat Cheetos now. And you crave carbohydrates at a real high level. Some people under stress get extremely thin. Some people under stress get extremely overweight. I was just sharing with Kevin, my 19-year-old granddaughter has lost so much weight that is causing issues with her heart. And there's a lot of medical issues that are happening right now around that because of stress. And I put her through our Managing Stress and Mastering Change program that I taught the other day. And really hoping that she can reevaluate what stress is and why she wants to go into, why she doesn't want to use stress as a motivator or as something that she deals with on a daily basis. I mean, it is designed to save our lives. And very often we don't have bears chasing us. We don't have cougars or wildlife chasing us. There's not a life or death situation. And so the whole point of this is to take a step back and say, how can I not go find myself in fight or flight? Women do something really different, which is, and you'll see that in your handout, called befriend and tend. Women have a tendency to become nurturers, and these oftentimes are the ones that get really, that often struggle with weight because they are like baking cookies to make friends, and they're reaching out to other people and trying to make them feel like part of the tribe. You want to feel like people accepting you and loving you. And so we do things like we're not real and not authentic. We put up with relationships that we shouldn't put up with. We have a tendency to be kind of nervous around people in general, if that makes any sense. It is one of the things that after reading that, it made sense to some of my behaviors that I had in the past, is that was a natural response to a stressor. And so what do you do with that stress? We're hardwired to take things personal. We're hardwired to feel that stress, like that survival instinct. When you're in survival mode, fight or flight is common. So how do we get out of survival mode? We need to feel safe, right? We need to move up and feel safe. We need to feel like we're part of a tribe. So one of the tips for dealing with stress is to make sure that you have a tribe of people around you that love you and support you and share your highs and your lows, right? That social belonging. But social belonging in and of itself can cause a lot of stress. What is some stress that comes from trying to fit in?
Mary, I had a Facebook friend of mine who's also a social media consultant who just put a reminder out there today that social media isn't real life. And that when you really pay attention to it a lot, you can feel very inadequate because everybody's life looks so fantastic, right? And mine sucks. And so I thought that was a really good, timely reminder for me to really think about that all the stuff that I see is not necessarily reality. People are putting out their best view of themselves.
Exactly. It's not real, not real life. Going behind the scenes, if you will. Really being able to separate what you feel society needs from you to what you want to give to society is what self-esteem is all about. It's really about finding your gifts, finding your strengths, and figuring out what you're all about so that you can break free and reach self-actualization. Most of us struggle, and there's different times in our lives where we slide up and down the scale. And just knowing it at an intellectual level can sometimes help to realize that you are right now in survival mode, or, you know, as things are challenging, to find where you're at. What's making me feel that way, right? Viktor Frankl, in his book Man's Search for Meaning, talks about finding space. And he said, between stimulus and response is a space, and in that space lies our ability to choose our response. And in that choice lies our freedom and our growth and our happiness, basically. It's how you choose to respond to all the crap that happens in your life, because crap's going to happen. It does not matter. No one gets out of here alive, and no one goes through without experiencing loss and disappointment and hurt. And it's what you do in that moment that makes the difference. And why is it doing that? Apparently it wanted to go to Amazon. I don't want to. In our program, Managing Stress and Mastering Change, we talk about the fact we need to manage our emotions or they will control us. We've all been around people that whatever they're feeling, you experience with them. And that can be exhausting. My thing is, and I love Inside Out, the movie Inside Out. If you've seen Inside Out, it's awesome. I haven't seen Inside Out 2. It was on my list of things to go do, and I haven't done that yet. But I love that movie because it talks about the fact we're all human. We all have these feelings, right? But do your feelings lie to you? That's it. That's a question, guys. Do your feelings lie to you? I'm seeing chat. Maybe not lie, but misdirected or confused. So in his work, Viktor Frankl talks about the fact that our interpretation of the situation is what drives our feelings. So when we interpret something, good or bad, that's where our feelings are coming from. And so the goal of our program is to learn to manage them in the workplace so that we can be more productive and happier and healthier. And those skills are transferable to life in general. It is a challenge when you're under stress to deal with things that cause stress. The more stress you have, the more stress you have. Does that make sense? The more we used to wear black to tell people we're in mourning, because when you're in mourning, your brain doesn't work. When you're in mourning, you take things personal. When you're in mourning, you move slower. You're not as open to what everybody else is feeling, because you're kind of like walking through molasses. For those of you that don't know, we lost our daughter July 4th. And it has been an incredible reminder for us, the cost of stress. At 40, she had another heart attack, and this one she didn't survive. Stress kills. And it's been our life mission for the last probably 15 years since we started this program, to help people understand that stress is something that you can control, because it's in here. It's not out there. So when we look at this and we say everybody's human, everybody has feelings, and our goal is to reduce our stress, the first step in all of this is you've got to figure out a way to create space between whatever is pushing your button, whatever is pissing you off, whatever is seeming overwhelming. You've got to figure out a way to create space. And it might be just as simple as saying, hey, time out. I need a minute to think about this. Or taking a drink of water, getting your head on your shoulders, and then responding. You've got to be able to create that space so that you can get a breath. And once you get a breath, that detachment that happens between your prefrontal lobe and your instinct, habit, and programming comes back on. And you are able to access your prefrontal lobe, which is where reasoning and all of that is. But so many times, we don't take that moment. We just instantly respond. We just instantly react, or we stuff it down inside of us and we take it personal and we let it sit there and stew inside of us. My challenge to you is when stress hits us, we need to be able to ask ourselves, I don't have this quite in the right order. On the second page under tips and stress, we need to be able to ask ourselves, how bad is this thing really? And put it into perspective. Everything can't be a 10 on a scale of 1 to 10. If everything's a 10, you've just now numbed yourself, right? You've just now taken away the highs and the lows of life and just made it level, all one level. It might be way up here, but it's all one level. So you've got to ask yourself, how bad is it really? How do I feel about this? Really feel about this? Am I hurt? Am I disappointed? Am I shocked? There's a whole range of emotions. And so many times the first thing that we say is mad. And you can't fix mad. You can't fix anger. You can fix disappointment. You can fix hurt. You can fix a lot of things, but you can't fix mad. Mad is just an expression. What do you want to do about it? So there are times when it's just not worth your energy. It's just not worth your time. It's just not worth it to give any energy to it. So you can ignore it like water over a duck's back and just let it go. Do you want to take a minute to think about it? Do you want to bring somebody else in? But you've got to be able to think about what you want to do about it before you do it. This is one that I was telling Kevin. So Monday, as Rob was leaving to work, and we've had, couple 3 weeks of just not really working too much, just doing what barely to survive. We went back into the workplace, and Monday, as he was leaving for work, he goes, "It's really weird. I tried to put ice in my coffee and there's just water coming out." And I said, "That's not good." So I opened up the refrigerator, and sure enough, our refrigerator isn't working. Oops. So, how bad is it really? Well, in the big scheme of things, refrigerators are refrigerators, no big deal. And, we caught it before the food got too cold or defrosted. So we've got another refrigerator. Do you know where I'm going with this? You got another refrigerator and another freezer outside in the garage. My beer refrigerator is now filled with food. I don't know what's wrong, but it doesn't feel right. But I mean, you look at, okay, so what kind of resources do I have to put towards this? Well, I can clear my schedule off for the morning and move all the all the food from this refrigerator into the garage, into the, other freezer and the other, make space and get rid of the stuff that I don't, the half done bottles of salad dressing that probably are outdated anyway, all that kind of stuff. So it gave me an opportunity to clean the refrigerator. What control do I have over it? Like I said, I changed my schedule around and made it work. But oftentimes we get pushed out of joint by something we don't have control over. So what control do you have over it? And then take a minute and think about, how do I want this thing to work? When you take a moment and just write down, what do I need to do? It makes it clear. It gives you perspective on, so what's the next thing I need to do? And then while you're under stress or while you're under grief or while you're under pressure because you financial pressure or whatever, you have a checkbox that you can go through and you can figure out what your next step is. Because we all know when you're under stress, you're not making the best decisions. Anybody ever done something really stupid under stress? Because I know I took my income from 0 to nothing, or from, 6 digits to nothing, like in a span of like 30 seconds, I think. I've done some really stupid stuff when I'm under stress because I put my emotions out front with my brain in the back. Right. And so the emotional intelligence class that we teach, we talk about how do you take and think about how you feel. And that really is one of the biggest things you can do about stress is you can take and think about how you feel, because it's really easy to be mad. It's super easy. Aristotle said this: anyone can become angry. That's easy. But to be angry with the right person to the right degree at the right time and the right purpose in the right way, that's not easy. And so many times we see people blow this. And I know I've talked about this in our conflict class and our emotional intelligence class. I bring it up because since the beginning of time, pretty much, man has struggled with managing our emotions. And if you don't want to behave that way, you've got to change how you feel about what you do. No, that's wrong. If you don't want to behave that way, you've got to change how you feel about what happens to you. And one of the biggest things that I can tell you is your hot buttons are your hot buttons and you should own them. When I took responsibility for my hot buttons, most of them went away. Still working on a couple of them, but it's not easy. It takes self-reflection. It takes being able to look at the woman in the mirror, the man in the mirror, and saying, I do this. This is how I want to show up, and then change your behavior. And this is like a lifelong work. It's I love this quote. This came off of Facebook too, by the way. Switching your mentality to why is this thing happening to me, to what is this trying to teach me, is a super game changer. And it can work for little things and it can work for big things. It can work for little things and it can work for big things, but it takes really taking a look at it in perspective and really putting it into gratitude. And it's not the easiest thing in the world to do. But when you do, it changes everything. It changes everything. I find journaling probably one of my biggest, when it says other deals for other ways of dealing with stress, journaling is one of the most powerful things you can do, because it gives you a chance to put it out of you so that you can see what's inside of you. How many of you are journaling right now? I'm not journaling enough. I know that. I bought a brand new journal because this is gonna take quite a bit of journaling to get through. So grabbed another one. Yeah, it's not, and journaling is one of those things that sometimes I'm good at it, sometimes I'm not. But if I'm going through a huge amount of stress, I will grab a journal and I will start journaling. I love that. Journaling listens. Yes, it does. And it listens where other people can't. So oftentimes you have thoughts that you can't articulate to other people. And even if you do articulate it, are they going to interpret it the right way? Do you know what I mean? Sometimes when you say things, people don't take it the right way.
I find sometimes, Mary, too, that even when I look back at it, I don't really understand it, or I question it, or I go, oh, why did I say that? And why did I say that that way? I think that's actually really quite useful to do that, to understand how that comes out in you.
Right. Thank you, Kevin. I find it a really therapeutic thing because oftentimes there are things that you're feeling it or thinking it. And when you get it outside of you, you go, oh, that was kind of stupid. Or what was I thinking on that? I'm sure they didn't intend it that way. And that's taking a look at, I mean, I try to journal my feelings. So there's levels of feelings that happen and we need to put words to them, because if we don't, what happens is we dilute them. And when I started looking at all these different things, there are times when I'm just like, okay, yeah, I'm feeling happy, but I'm not thrilled. I'm not over the top, right? And so watching your highs and lows and where they come from, I think is such an insightful thing. And you can do it through journaling. I think it's one of the best ways. Another Facebook that I stole was this one, how to instantly feel better. And I thought, you know what? This is true. Have you ever been mad and sang? It goes away. Maybe it's because I do it in a bar, but I don't know. What were you going to say, Tiffany?
I think I just laughed.
But I mean, when you think about it, overthinking, write it out. Burned out, go for a walk. I printed this off and stuck it on my refrigerator, well, my broken refrigerator, just to say, you know what? It's true. When I'm feeling like, God, I should just take a nap, go take a shower. I did that yesterday and I was like, oh, okay. I was just feeling like a slug. That was it. And wash it off. Yeah, Steph, it definitely helps. I can't tell you how many pages of journals I have around here.
I think one of the important things with that, Mary, too, is that it's just changing the scene, changing the routine, right? So singing may not be it for you for anger, but do something that gets you out of the thing. I remember when I was really in a slump, I had a little note that I had found that I put on my mirror that just said, do one thing today, take one step, go do something a little different. And it really does work.
That's one of the things about when you take and go through that step. What do I want to do about it? What resources do I have to put towards it? When you're really feeling that moment, it gives you that little checklist to go through and say, oh, I should do that. Oh, I should do that. I should do that. Because anger is a gift. And oftentimes what happens is when we get angry, there's clarity. And a lot of people won't tell you that, but there's clarity in a lot of that anger. And so capture it and then look at it through a clear lens, right? After the anger has passed, to say, oh, that was a good idea. Maybe it wasn't a good idea to burn their house down. So, you can weigh things out better once it all clears. But Napoleon Hill, who as a man I think was Napoleon Hill's. I've read so much of Napoleon Hill back in the 80s. 70s and 80s, I guess. But I love this quote: self-discipline begins with the mastery of our thoughts. If you don't control what you think, you can't control what you do. If you don't control what you think, you can't control what you do. Simply self-discipline enables you to think first and act afterwards. And that's that whole emotional intelligence thing, is you think about how you're feeling. And you got to figure out a way to do it. My favorite is a timeout. Put myself in timeout is simply going, you know what? I need a minute to think about this. Go for a walk. I can't tell you how many miles my dogs, when I'm going through stress, have on them, because I will put them on a leash and out the door we go, and we go think about it. We go for a walk. I do love massages, but oftentimes I just fall asleep in those. So, but walking's a good one. Getting out into nature, lavender. One of the things that we did for for Ashley's celebration of life is we did lavender sprigs, because she did tons of paint and sips out in the lavender fields. And lavender is a relaxation. We did wildflower seeds, so we can go out and plant flowers out, and so we have something to look at. But I really believe that if you get out into nature, you're going to find the fresh air. Absolutely, fresh air. Something about, there's a great book that we're reading right now called Forest, or we read it, I guess. I read it. Called Forest Bathing. And it is so true. I mean, there's science that says go barefoot, go lay naked in the woods. Of course, you can kind of get in trouble for that. But anyway, this is Oregon. We can get away with it, I think. but go out and get in nature. Take your kids to nature when your kids are misbehaving. One of the other things that oftentimes when you're under stress, people don't do is they don't do enough thinking, the critical thinking, the education. I get stressed out when I don't know. I don't know if anybody else is with me on this, but when I don't know how to do something, it causes me stress. So educate yourself, right? Don't just look at one perspective. And I have the newspapers here for another reason, because trying to think, Campbell. Oh, Campbell's his last name. Joseph Campbell said, ignorance is bliss. Who was that? Something Campbell. Ignorance is bliss. Oftentimes what happens is the media gets a hold of a story and they blow it way out of proportion. They try to manipulate you and change, as to how you're going to think, how you're going to respond. They've done studies where they've got this huge, 450-page report, and they take it down to 4 headlines, boom, boom, boom. And different authors will look at it differently, right? They'll pull something different completely out of this is why we get so much mixed information about diet and exercises, because they take these great big huge studies and then they cherry pick things out of them, and it means this or it means that, and it's totally opposite of each other, right? So take time to educate yourself from various sources, not just one. If you're feeling stressed because you're not unclear, educate yourself. And you can do that by talking to people too. One of the interesting things about the pandemic, when we were going through the pandemic, is it brought out things like sourdough bread. How do you do a sourdough starter? I mean, there was knowledge that 100-year-old people had that we needed in that moment, right? It was like, how do you do that? How do you do this? So oftentimes the things that stress us out is because that Maslow's hierarchy of need, we're fearful of our survival. We just need skills to survive, right? So what are those skills? So sharpen your saw. There is something to be said about meditation. I don't do well with meditation, but I've found walking meditation actually works. But sitting still meditation, I fall asleep.
But it can be anywhere, right? I mean, I had a woman in class one time who said, I don't have a dishwasher. I hand wash the dishes, and that's when I meditate. That's what I'm thinking. And that's what I'm thinking about that meeting I'm going to be in, or how that situation with my neighbor went, and that kind of stuff. I just soak myself in the thoughts of it while I'm hand washing the dishes. So there's lots of places you can find that.
Yeah. I think water is very healing. So I there's times when you're under stress, if you just put your hands under warm water and do this, the rubbing, it will actually reduce your stress. It's part of, it's almost like EFT, like emotive, because there's meridians in your hands. There's my little buddy. Dogs are just a wonderful source of like stress relief. They can be really stressful, but they are definitely stress relief. He is super adorable. He is now 3.5 months old. And he is just a handful, but he's a good boy. The other thing is volunteer. If you think your life is bad and your life sucks, go volunteer for other people, because there's somebody out there who's got a whole lot worse than you. And there's something to be said when you're giving, that it fills you up. You get more from volunteering than the people you volunteered for get, I think. And so that was one of the reasons why I joined Keller Williams, was because they are such a give back to the community group. And so we did Red Day, which is, this is our junior league. We did a derby day. So we did horse racing and whiskey and wine. It was super fun. Raised almost $200,000 for our cause, which is the Women's Crisis Center. Get a hobby. Yeah, we making cutting boards. Aren't they cool? Woodworking, working with your hands, do something. Don't just sit there when that I think so many times what happens is, if you're stressed and you think about your stress, you add more stress, and then it just starts stacking up, right? So if you get out and you do something, I think it makes all the difference in the world. Spending time with laughter is another one. And I know I talked about this a little bit in the very beginning, where I said, everything can't be a 10. You have to be able to put a number to it. And so one of the things that I do in that tips and tricks, where I talk about how bad is it really, how do I feel about this, I actually put a number to it. So you might want to make a note to yourself, put a number to it. Is this a 1? Is this a 10? Is this a 9? Because like I said, if you make everything a 10, then there's no room when things really bad happen, right? And something really bad's gonna happen. It's just human nature.
I think that's a really important thing in this day and age, when so many people are addicted to drama, because the drama keeps you at a 10 all the time, and your reactions are at a 10 all the time, and it just doesn't work.
No, and a lot of it, I mean, we're drinking like a massive amount of caffeine, massive amounts of caffeine. And it keeps us amped up. There's no down. There's we're stimulated. Take something to make us sleep, and then go to sleep, but we don't get deep sleep. Right? And so being able to watch how you're feeling about stuff, what was it that happened in that moment? Write it out. I can't say that enough. Write it out. This is how I saw the situation. And if it's with another person, take time to sit down and say, hey, how did you see that situation? What did you think? Because oftentimes our miscommunication with one another happens around my idea of what happened and your idea of what happened don't exist in the same universe, right? And I'm not going to say I'm 100% right. There are things I miss. There's things that you miss. Let's figure this thing out, because I don't think people intentionally try to screw people over. But I think oftentimes what happens is we start tripping over top of each other. And then there does get to be some tit for tat. I think we're all on this planet to get together and get through this thing. As somebody said, we're all walking ourselves home. We're all walking each other home.
Well,
this is my. Go ahead. No, you're fine, Tim.
We're not the best at identifying when interests are opposed. And instead of thinking about it as, oh, this person is intentionally trying to screw me over and be mean to me, we have opposing interests, and everyone's just doing their best. given their particular set of circumstances and their interests, what, you know,
Mhm.
and I think that happens a lot. And I think that we take that personally a lot when it's not personal. We just have opposing interests.
Mhm. Well, and if we
Well
take
said.
time, go ahead, Kevin.
No, I just said, well said.
I think if we find time, if we take time and really are open, honest, and transparent with, this is my reality, this is how things are for me, this is what I want to, this is what I'm hoping to accomplish, that when we do take time, there's space for there's space for both of us. We can work our way to a different solution, I think, if we'll just take time. But there are people that, and I have my glass half full type picture here. There are people that are Eeyores, if you will. The world's just, woe is me, everything's terrible, and it's like stuff happens to everybody. You don't know. There was this great little video that was out, and this older gentleman was walking dead. Rob had it out on his Facebook. I don't know who created the video, but it was animated. And this older gentleman was walking to find a seat on the bus, and he couldn't find a seat. And this lady gave him her seat. And he said, well, my ticket says no seat, because it was a stand or seat. Anyway. And in the end, she actually had the ticket that said seat, because she said, mine doesn't either. And then in the end, the conductor, I guess it was a train, the conductor came and she got her crutches and she was handicapped, but she had been standing to let this gentleman have a seat. So many times we don't know what that other person is going through. We don't know what weight they're carrying. And we don't know that, hey, by me not doing this, it's causing this to them. And so we don't know the cause of our actions to them. And I think that if we just can sit down and have that conversation, we would have the ability to work through it, because we could compare resources. We could figure out a way to make it work for everybody. But there are people that, like I said, the glass is half empty all the time. There are people that are greedy. They take the glass and the bottle and don't share. So I really think that if we take a moment and really spend some time with where we're at, where our thoughts are, we'll find that this stuff is not important. We'll find that a lot of that stress is just gone, because it doesn't matter in the end. Right? Kev? You unmuted. Do you have something you wanted to add?
Are you talking to me?
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, it just made me think of I don't know how many of you know RuPaul, but RuPaul always says what other people think of me is none of my business.
Mm-hmm.
Like that has been really, really helpful for me to think about, because we sometimes just get so wrapped up in what other people think of me and what what they think and what they say and all that. Boy, if you can get to the point where it's like, I'm just walking through the world and I gotta, I don't necessarily have to care what other people are thinking about me.
There is a place where a lot of times people are just not paying any attention to the other people around them. They're just clueless. And why they're clueless probably isn't your concern, as long as it's not a danger to you. But people are on this little squirrel wheel and they're not even aware of people around them. I did a training the other day, and one of my icebreakers was, tell me what your husband was wearing when he left for work this morning. My daughter-in-law did one where they did a and so you might want to, this is a great game to play at parties. So they did guys against the girls, And the guys were supposed to write down the color of their wife's bra. And I thought that was kind of funny, but I mean, it was interesting. The point is, oftentimes we're so busy we don't pay any attention to anyone, right? Not even the people that we love the most. When they say when kids go missing, oftentimes the parents don't know what they were wearing.
In movies,
How's that?
it always bothers me that they always know what the person's wearing.
In movies, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, I have no clue, right? Or do you know the color of your coworker's eyes? It's always a good one too. You know, Soul Canyon is called Soul Canyon because we really believe that everybody has gifts and strengths, and we need to be able to give those gifts and strengths to the world and love and empathy and service. And so I'm going to challenge you to be fearless in the pursuit of what sets your soul on fire. Some of the things that cause us stress are because we're in distress, meaning we're in the wrong place. And so I know Kevin's got a coaching program. I've got a coaching program. If you're under stress, maybe you're not in alignment, meaning you might need to do some deeper work to find out where you need to be in this universe. Find your tribe, find your why, and go out there and do it. And with that, does anybody have any questions or thoughts? Well, Kevin, we've got a training coming up August 15th. Level 2, Excel, my very favorite level.
Yes, your favorite and so many people's favorite, because this is the one where we really start to dig into some of the really phenomenal tools that Excel has to help you be more efficient and more effective at what you do. So very much looking forward to that August 15th at 1 o'clock.
Yep. And I put a note up there on the very top. Some people don't know, but we travel to you. So if you've got a company that needs training, we will come to you and do that training. Kevin's getting ready to go off to Idaho again. Thank you, Kevin. To do a custom training for nuclear group out there. I say that correctly? I think that's why they wouldn't let me come back. I said nuclear wrong.
That is correct.
Yeah, okay. And then next month, you've got maintaining workday balance and productivity, right?
Yeah, one of my favorite topics, which is we'll go through and provide some really practical strategies to being able to optimize your workday, to enhance your productivity, and achieve a healthier work-life balance. All of that, as so often happens with our Lunch and Learns, ties together very well with Mary's topic today, because if you can balance your workday productivity, you can be a lot less stressed. So looking forward to that one.
Exactly. We are actually 5 minutes early, because that was it. Does anybody have any thoughts on this? What are some of your favorite things that you might want to share with the others to deal with stress? Stephanie, I know you do music. She may be reading. Yes. I get absorbed in reading. I read on my phone, which is not a good habit because it looks like I'm doing that. I already talked about my dogs. That's one of my favorite things, hot tubs. Third, reading, porch swings, yes. So we got reading. I love to read. I think physical activity is one of my favorites though, because usually when I'm stressed, I have way too high of a level of anxiety, and something physical will take that anxiety away. Walking, running, yard work. So you're out in nature, that sort of thing. But I feel like we adopted an old horse. Oh, How cool is that?
It's way cool.
Yeah, so helping others, yeah. Really appreciate that.
Love it, Stephanie.
Eating carameled apples. Oh my goodness. So I have to tell you, we have an apple tree and my dogs have picked all the bottom apples off. They love them. So they'll come, they stand up on their hind feet and pull them down.
Incredible.
It's cute. Anyway, thank you all for taking time out of your crazy busy day. I know you guys are, busy people, and that's part of it is taking time to unplug, connect to others. We'll send out the recording to those that couldn't make it. Like I said, I had several emails that came in. And Dulcie, I got another Firewatch notification. This is one of the challenges is that we keep getting notified of like danger, Will Robinson, and it puts us on high alert all the time. This one is near Crescent Lake, so it's closer to you than me, Dulcie. But I've got the alerts going on all the time, and that can sometimes, bring our stress levels up, right? What we can't control.
Indeed.
So stay safe out there. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks all. See you next month.